You were never taught how to win. You were trained to survive. From the moment you were born, you were handed a manual titled, "Play It Safe." You didn't write it, but you live by it. Don't take risks. Don't dream too big. Be realistic. Work hard, not smart. Respect authority. Stay grateful for the little you have. That's not humility. That's mental poverty dressed as virtue. They told you that ambition was dangerous, that money was evil, that rich people were cold and selfish, that wanting more was wrong, and you believed it, not because you're weak, but because you were a child, and children don't choose their beliefs, they inherit them. You were programmed by people who had already surrendered, people who gave up on their own dreams and called it maturity, people who feared the system so deeply they raised you to obey it blindly. That's not love. That's fear passed down as wisdom. So you grew up with mental chains you couldn't see, chains that whispered, "That's not for people like us," chains that made you laugh at the idea of owning a business, chains that told you to get a job, stay quiet, retire at 65, and pray for peace. And if you ever questioned it, you were called arrogant, ungrateful, crazy. But what if I told you that the biggest war in your life is the war between your programming and your potential? This isn't about rich versus poor in the bank account. It's about rich versus poor in the mind, because the man with a rich mindset can rebuild after losing everything, but the man with a poor mindset can lose everything just by thinking small. This is your wake-up call. You've been living by code that wasn't written for your greatness, and if you don't break it now, it will break you later. Keep watching. This is where the war begins. And if you're ready to fight back, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Your real mind is waiting. A poor mindset is not a lack of money. It's a lack of vision. A man can make minimum wage and still think like a king. Another can earn 6 figures and still think like a scared servant. Because poverty is not what's in your pocket. It's what's in your programming. And here's the brutal truth. Most people live inside an invisible cage built by their own beliefs. They say things like, "I can't afford that," instead of, "How can I create the value to earn it?" They ask, "Is it safe?" instead of, "Is it worth it?" They worship stability and call it security, when in reality, they're just scared of growth. That cage was built early, by teachers who never built anything, by parents who meant well but feared failure more than mediocrity, by friends who mock ambition because they know they'll never rise. And brick by brick, you helped build that cage. Every time you doubted yourself, every time you apologized for dreaming bigger, every time you settled. A rich mindset doesn't settle. It strategizes. It doesn't hope. It builds. It doesn't complain. It studies the system. It doesn't chase comfort. It chases control. That's why most people never escape. Because they believe the cage is reality. They defend their limits. They protect their excuses. They argue for their suffering. They've confused slavery with normal life. But the man who rewires his mind, he sees the bars. And once you see the bars, you can bend them. You can break out. But only if you stop blaming and start building. The war is not against society. The war is against your own mental software. And the only way to win is to uninstall what they gave you and rewrite everything. Imagine trying to win a game, using the rule book of someone who's never won. That's what most people are doing. They inherited a manual written by people who played it safe, played it small, and never questioned the system. And now they wonder why they're stuck. They were told, go to school, get good grades, find a job, work hard, and eventually, you'll be okay. Okay? That's the dream? You were programmed for survival, not success. You were taught how to follow instructions, not how to build an empire. You were trained to obey, not to create. That's not education, that's domestication. Rich mindset rejects the manual. It asks, who wrote this? Did it work for them? Are they free? Are they fulfilled? If the answer is no, then why the hell would I follow their script? The most dangerous lie is the one that sounds noble. Be grateful for what you have. That's what they say to keep you from reaching for more. But here's the truth. You can be grateful and still want more. You can appreciate your life and still outgrow it. You can love your family and still break the cycle they handed you. Poor programming says, don't make mistakes. Rich mindset says, make moves, learn, adapt, dominate. Poor programming fears rejection. Rich mindset knows rejection is just redirection. You don't need motivation. You need a new operating system. You need to stop running the same mental software your broke uncle, your fearful teacher, or your bitter ex ran, because their lives are the result of that code, and yours will be too, unless you upgrade. The game changed, but your mind didn't, and that's exactly why you're losing battles you don't even see. You weren't born with a rich mindset. No one is. It's not in your blood, it's not in your last name, it's not in your zodiac sign or your lucky number. It's a choice. A brutal, conscious, relentless choice to think differently, even when everything around you tells you not to. Rich mindset isn't about waking up with confidence. It's about waking up with discipline. It's not about feeling good. It's about doing what's required, especially when you don't feel like it. People wait for motivation. The rich mindset acts out of principle. You show up, you study, you sacrifice, you repeat. That's how you rewire your brain. That's how you kill the old program and install a new one based on action, not emotion. The poor mind says, that's too hard. The rich mind replies, that's why it works. The poor mind says, it's not fair. The rich mind says, then I'll become so dangerous the rules won't matter. There is no room for victim mentality. Not here. Victims wait. Builders build. Victims wish. Strategists plan. Victims talk. Executors dominate. You can't carry both, comfort and greatness. You'll have to choose. And every day you don't choose. You've already chosen. Chosen to stay average. To stay programmed, to stay where you are. This isn't about arrogance. It's about ownership. Taking full control over the one asset that runs everything in your life, your mind. So decide right now. Are you going to keep running the poor man's software? Or are you finally ready to download the rich one? Because wealth doesn't start in your bank. It starts in your brain. The difference between a rich mind and a poor one can be reduced to a single word: strategy. The poor mind reacts emotionally to life. It panics when things go wrong, it complains when things get hard, and it gives up when things don't go as planned. But the rich mind doesn't flinch. It calculates, it observes, it adapts. It plays the long game while others chase shortcuts. While most people run their lives based on feelings, the man with a rich mindset runs his life based on targets, systems, and consequences. He doesn't ask, do I feel like doing this today? He asks, what happens if I don't? That's the difference. The rich mind moves with purpose, not with impulse. You were trained to respond like a puppet, get angry, get offended, get scared, shut down. They taught you that discomfort was danger, that discipline was punishment, that failure meant you weren't good enough. But the rich mind redefines all of that. Discomfort is growth. Discipline is freedom. Failure is feedback. The rich mind doesn't see problems. It sees patterns. It doesn't dwell on obstacles. It studies them until they become opportunities. That's the software update you need. A complete rewire of how you respond to life. Because when the storm comes, and it will, emotion won't save you. Strategy will. Thinking clearly under pressure, acting with intention, and making decisions not for today, but for who you want to become 10 years from now. That's how empires are built. That's how the poor mindset dies. The war is almost over. And whether you realize it or not, you're either building your next breakthrough or repeating your last breakdown. But the one who wins is always the one who thinks beyond today. Here's the truth they won't teach you. Your future is already under construction by the thoughts you choose today. Every belief you repeat becomes a command to your subconscious. Every excuse you defend becomes a chain. And every habit you tolerate becomes the architect of your failure or the foundation of your empire. The rich mindset isn't about money. It's about mastery. Mastery over your time, your energy, your reactions, your plan. Because the man who controls his mind controls his fate. The one who doesn't gets controlled by everything else. You don't rise by luck. You rise by choice. And you don't need anyone's permission to rewrite your story. You just need to starve the programming that was installed to keep you average and feed the mindset that will set you apart. Stop thinking in terms of survival. Start thinking in terms of domination. Stop chasing comfort. Start building character. Stop blaming your past. Start owning your next move, because no one is coming to save you. And that's exactly what makes you powerful. The war between rich and poor mindset is not won in one day. It's won every single morning when you decide who you are. It's won when you choose to act with purpose while others sleepwalk through life. It's won when you refuse to let fear, laziness, or excuses have the final word. And if you're still breathing, then you still have time to win. So here's the final question. Which mind are you feeding today? Because that's the mind that's building your reality. If you're ready to break the program, leave the old code behind and build a version of yourself the world can't ignore. Subscribe now, drop a comment, and let this be the day your new mind begins.